Hello and welcome to another episode of Nolo Time. My name is Obed Velez, and with me is the most interesting man in the world, Joel Young.
What's good, no low time? Open pleasure to be with you again tonight for another episode, my friend. And
Yeah,
begun the console wars
good
has.
to be here. Yeah, Dave. I mean, this it's all said and done. Um, there's a purpose for that title. We'll go into it in a minute. Joel, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I think it's been a nice nice week so far, busy, but I can't complain, right? I'd rather be busy than bored. Since we last spoke, I have not been able to do anything too crazy, too interesting, but we are going to talk about the reason why we brought that title is that there was something a little special that I got to watch over that time that we had since our last episode, and you also got to watch it too. So we're not talking about the Book of Boba Fett, although we will be talking about that. Also, we've got a lot to unpack in today's
Oh, you mean
episode.
you mean we're
Um,
gonna talk about Mandalorian season 3, episode 1?
yeah, basically,
Yeah,
we're gonna get into all the spoilers.
yeah, yep. We're going into those. Yeah, Joel. So the reason that we call this episode Console Wars is not because of PlayStation and Xbox, right? But you were able to sit down and watch the Console Wars documentary that's on Paramount Plus, right?
Right.
Okay. Because I did not watch it in Paramount Plus. Don't ask me where I got it from. Anywho, so you got to watch it,
Yeah.
and you told me that you wanted to talk about it in the show, and I was like, excellent, because that's one of my favorite topics. So since you were the one that watched it first, I want you to share your impressions of that, of everything that happened back
Yes.
then, and I'll chime in.
Yeah. So I had a very limited knowledge, and I still do, right? Because obviously, like that's the time before me. I will say that much. When I say Joel Young, I am young. So the Console Wars documentary is covering the saga of the rise of Nintendo, right? The rise of consoles, really at that point, home consoles, and also the rise of Sega, and also unfortunately the fall of Sega, and also the rise of Sony, all in the same thing, all at the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
time. I mean, they really covered it in a really. I didn't know where they were going entirely at first, but it's done so well. So yeah, you get to see in this documentary. And I'm just gonna paraphrase at least for what they show, and then we'll get into some impressions. But really, they just show when the very first Nintendo home system was released, and how obviously it was a very controversial thing because they called up Toys R Us and all these other places, and nobody wanted to sell it because obviously it was a brand new industry, it didn't make any sense.
yeah. Well, the thing is
Um,
that it crashed, right? Because the
yeah,
2600 saturation of like garbage games
right.
made the industry to crash, and toy, not necessarily toy retailers, but like retailers in general were very skeptical of carrying video games again.
Yeah, and I totally like get this the skeptics, but there was also like very much like and it reminds me a little bit still. There's still people today that feel the way that some of the feelings were it feels like at that time, because like there were people who were very much also not, they just didn't want to see games succeed. Like they didn't want to see that industry actually grow and evolve to what it is today. And there's still people right now who still don't
Yeah,
have much respect for games. And I mean, Obed, we've witnessed people laugh about industries that are at, like they say at the end of this documentary, the gaming industry is worth more than the film and music industry combined.
yeah.
It's not a joke. I mean, it's a very, very successful, prosperous business.
Hmm.
But at that time, like we see in the documentary, like people were very much against it. I mean, gosh, the guy from Nintendo, I can't remember his name now, but I remember when he said like he
Lincoln,
remembers,
Howard Lincoln, probably.
possibly when he said
Oh, you mean the Game
um
Master?
yeah, when he was saying
Yeah,
like when they were showcasing Nintendo right in New York, and like the woman came up to him and was like, "What is it?" And he's like, "It's a Nintendo." She's like, "I hope you fail
yeah.
in this
That
game."
was the Game Master. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm like, it's crazy how like people were so there's such a vitriol against this game at that time. Like to me, that's the I see people still like thinking like, oh, it's gonna rock kids' brains and stuff. Like that's always been the one of the points of contention, right, in gaming. But But yeah, it just feels like I don't know. I mean, Obed, you were around, seeing how things were starting to rise up when people started getting these things in their home. Like, what was the conversation between you and your parents at that time, dude? Like,
Well, the
when
conversation at the school was more interesting that between me and my
yeah,
parents. So pre, I want to say like Nintendo in PR was popular, and I'm gonna give you my point of view from PR. I born and raised in Puerto Rico, and
right,
I went through it all over there. I was not here. Toys R Us was still not in the island at that time, so it was very interesting because Atari was very popular over there, right? Everyone knew Atari. Everyone had an Atari,
yeah,
and when Nintendo didn't really start pushing a lot of stuff out until like Toys R Us came on board, came to the island, and KB Toys started expanding. Back then, man, like that's why I had a Sega Master System, because Sega, before Nintendo was able to actually get a foothold in the island, right? Sega was already in because of that partnership they had with Tonka to distribute the Master System. Problem was that you couldn't really get a lot of Master System games in a lot of places. So I remember when I was a kid and going to like furniture stores with my parents, and like specialty electronic
yeah.
stores, and that's where you would see a Sega. It was wild, dude. But
And
then
that,
when Nintendo came on board,
so they sold it in the furniture store.
yeah, at furniture stores, it's like, oh, can buy a new TV with a Sega, and yeah, it
Wow.
was wild. I'm gonna go a step further, right? A good friend of mine, he had a 3DO, and the 3DO, because of it being a Panasonic product, they sold it at furniture stores in PR, and that's how he got one, through a furniture store. It was wild over there, dude. Right?
Wow.
So the thing with the console wars, right? When I think the NES really exploded in popularity. I want to say when the first TMNT game came out. So PR was very similar to what happened in Europe, where the NES was around and kids had NESs, but it didn't really blew up until the first Ninja Turtles game came out. And that's how it happened in the UK, where they bundled the game, and that's the how the NES took off. And it was very similar because I was a Sega kid, and then TMNT was coming out on the NES, and it's like, what's not going on Sega? I gotta have this, right? There's no going around it. So, so I had a Sega already, and then I put it out to my parents to get me the NES. 2 years later, I got the Super NES, but man, it was so crazy. And then
So they weren't your parents, like that's what I'm saying. Like your parents, like your friends, like there wasn't any like, no, this is terrible. Like it was just like
oh
probably
no, dude,
I'm
if
assuming it was just like a obviously like most people like they showed the one kid like,
correct,
hey, like are you gonna tell your parents to buy this thing because it costs some
it's
money,
cost money,
pretty
yeah,
penny,
yeah,
but
yeah.
there
Um,
wasn't really much of a like this new games are terrible. Like
yeah, no, I mean there was no really,
nice,
not really. There was no that conversation came later, and it's something that came up on the documentary, and I'm
yeah,
pretty sure
yeah. I
you
haven't,
know what it is.
yeah,
So we'll talk about it.
yeah.
It was very interesting, right? And then I remember when the Genesis came out, and we had like Sega was full on marketing and PR too. Like with the Genesis does what
Well,
Nintendo don't, we would
right.
get those commercials in Spanish.
Which makes sense because when you get to the Tom stuff, like that's when it sounds like the marketing really went amazing.
Bro, that was next level stuff, right? The Sega stuff back then.
Oh,
That was
bro.
talk about marketing and just how to change the mindset, right, of people, which is crazy, right? Because the way they marketed Sonic the Hedgehog, at least the first one, versus Super Mario World, was weird, and they pulled it off. And in my opinion, Super Mario World is a much superior game, through and through, like design wise and everything, right? Sonic is a good game, right? But Sonic didn't really get good until 2. Like Sonic 2 was really really good. Sonic 1 was fine, but Sonic 2 was really good. But then it was going to get in Super Mario World, but Super Mario World is a much superior game, and they were able to change the mindset of people, saying it was like, oh, it looks like more like for kids and 12-bit, which is what we talked. Whenever it's funny because they mentioned the TurboGrafx probably in passing in the documentary.
Yeah.
I knew kids that had TurboGrafx. I saw the TurboGrafx at like electronic stores over there because no one had they didn't sell them anywhere. And that was not a 12-bit system, but it was a hybrid. It was a 16-bit graphics processor with an 8-bit CPU. So we called it a 12-bit. It really wasn't a 12-bit, but it was technically a 16-bit console. But it was less capable than the Genesis. The Genesis was huge, dude. Like Genesis, like my friend had one, dude, and I would go to his house and we would play for hours, dude. Hours. It was awesome. And again, what Tom Kalinske said on the documentary is like, oh, they included Altered Beast, which in my opinion is not a good game. It's not. Altered Beast is not a good game. And we played it because that's the pack in the Genesis.
It came with it.
It came with it. So it was funny to see that brought up on the documentary. It's like, oh yeah, that's like spot on. And the thing that we saw it, dude, and then we get the factions in school. Like kids was like, no man, it's like Nintendo's better. It's like, dude, Sega CD, it's coming out and it has this full motion video thing and like stuff, and the Genesis games are really quick and all this stuff, right? But then Mortal Kombat came out, right? And that was and then I got the SNES version. I don't know why I had it, dude. It's like what's crazy, right? Is that it's one of those moments that you that are full of regret for me, because I think it was like either when did Final, give me 1 second, let me fact check this on the fly here real quick. Hold on, go anywhere. It was Final. So I was in between buying Final Fantasy IV, which ended up being one of my favorite games of all time, or Mortal Kombat, and I got Mortal Kombat for the SNES. And
that's probably where the conversation started.
That's the conversation started a little bit later, but then my friend got the Genesis version, dude, and the Super NES version was so stiff and no blood, and the fatalities were weird. And it was just not a good experience. I think you're froze, man. I don't know. Yo. Wake up. Uh-oh. Let's wait until Joe comes back, and I will be right back.
Hey, I hear you.
Hey, there you go. You're just frozen. Hey. All right, so, when they did, you remember the section where they had the Donkey Kong Country stuff, right? In the documentary. I think I lost you again. Oh yeah, he's gone. All right, I'll be right back, guys. I'm back. And we're back. So, okay. So remember the Donkey Kong Country section where they had the Donkey Kong Country stage? That was the turning point, right? In my opinion, because they talk about things that were happening behind the scenes and whatnot. I think that was the turning point because when Donkey Kong Country came out, they were saying, I was like, oh, you can't do this with the Genesis. I mean, Genesis released Vector Man, but it's nah. I mean, come on, comparing Vector Man to Donkey Kong Country is not even fair. And then they said it's like, oh, Mortal Kombat 2 is coming out, and we're not editing anything out of Mortal. And that's when the conversation happened, right? I was already 14 years old when the conversation happened. It's like, hey, so I think this game's a little too much, right? And I was like, okay, it's your house. I respect that. It's fine.
Yeah.
I rented the game, like the game.
Man.
Yeah, like the game wasn't mine, right? And I think I rented it or something. And that was it. That was basically the end of it. By then I already had the Sega CD and other add-ons on the Genesis. So I was doing most of my gaming on Sega, and then I was playing a few things on SNES. Mainly like when the X-Men game came out, was Children of Apocalypse or whatever it's called, which was really good. That sort of thing. Like I kept playing the SNES here and there, the Mega Man X games, of course. But I was doing most of my gaming on Sega, right? I think, and this was the missed opportunity, in my opinion, when they talk about it with the PlayStation, right? At the end of the documentary, the Saturn went to sell 10 million units, the SNES 30, but the PlayStation became the number one console of all time with over 100 million units. I think that the Saturn did very good in Japan, and they would have done equally good here if they would have followed the Japan strategy. In my opinion, what Sega should have done is, like, when Tom quit, Sega of Japan should have taken over the operation in the US and just release everything, right?
See, but like that's the thing. Like, I feels like at that point, like the moment that you have the release of, the Saturn, and you've got like, okay, PlayStation comes right around, right, doing what they're doing. Like, I feels like they weren't just like in second place. They were now like moved back to third place, like trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
And like, it wasn't a diversified market where it is now, where like you can have Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo all surviving and thriving to like, and there's enough space for everybody to do It was a more smaller market. So I think like that really affect, like, had they been in those same kind of market of today, like there would have still been enough of a Sega niche to keep them alive.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing with the Saturn, the thing that really like messed up the Saturn here was just not releasing all the arcade stuff that was being released in Japan. Because we got a bunch of arcade games that got released in Japan that we never got here, and
it sounds like that's Japan's fault. Like the headquarters
no,
there, like, because in the thing they made it sound like they wanted to do stuff, and like, it was like, no, like we're not doing that in America.
The thing is that Bernie Stoller, who took over after Kalinske left,
sure,
that was a lot of the pushback. Is like, oh, these titles are not gonna sell in the U.S. We just won like the tank stuff.
Because Kalinske in the beginning, when he came on,
he
brought over that stuff to the States.
Correct.
He brought over.
Correct. But then towards the end of the Genesis, like, I'm trying to think, and there were very few and far in between, like, high quality games that came out. Like, towards the end of the Genesis, we would start getting like garbage from Sega of America, and we're not good. and even we got games like that throughout the entire Genesis the Genesis lifespan, but it was wild, dude. It was wild. And then the conversations again at school, it's like, oh, the Saturn, it has 2 processors, but then they talked about it in the documentary, and it's like, it's got 2 processors, man. PlayStation has got only 1. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't feel confident about this. And I ended up getting a Saturn. I wanted a PlayStation, but I ended up getting a Saturn.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, and I loved it. Like I played it until I think one of the controller ports broke, and it was really spotty already.
Yeah.
I mean, I played it a ton, and I imported a few games, and I had an N64 too because I got it for Ocarina of Time back then. That was the Ocarina of Time machine, and I really didn't have a lot of N64 games. But I did jump on the Dreamcast like right away. That came out, and like a couple of weeks later, I got it because Dreamcast I think has one of the best launches of any console. It's unfortunate that it was living under the shadow of the PS2 at that time. So it was
Crazy.
crazy, man. And then the Sega guy, what was his name? Uh, the president, the man,
Bad hair?
yeah, with the bad hair.
That was crazy. They had like one picture of him where you got to see it.
Nakayama, Hayao
Yeah.
Nakayama.
Yeah.
So Hayao Nakayama, um, was it Nakayama or I can't remember. I can't know. It wasn't Nakayama. Um, it was. I think it was like someone that was above like Nakayama. It was like an owner person, right? When the Dreamcast flunked and Sega was gonna file for bankruptcy, like he sold his stock and put it in the company so the company wouldn't have to file for bankruptcy, and then he died, dude. Like it was crazy. It
Oh
was
no.
crazy, right?
Was it a hit job?
No, no, I don't think. Hey, you know what?
Nintendo's secrets.
No, it wasn't Nintendo because
Large
after
large
that we all know,
accusation.
yeah, like after that, Sega a few years later merged
Oh,
with Sammy, which is now like Sega basically absorbed Sammy. They're doing really well, but all those like all those stories about the Yakuza being involved and actually
yeah,
funding the
yeah.
operation and all that. I mean, I don't know. They spun off their arcade business. Like they're not. They sold the arcade division. It's still called Sega, but it's like a separate company, not owned by the Sega that puts out stuff on PlayStation and Switch and whatnot. But it was a wild time, dude. And then you get those ads on the magazines, like on GamePro, because like remember, you got to remember back then there's no internet to find out the game reviews and all this stuff. You had to like buy the magazines. You have to buy the EGM and the GamePro and all this stuff. So like, but those ads were bonkers, dude. It's like you would see these ads. It's like that Game Boy ad. It's like I always remember this ad. It's silly because it's the Game Boy, right? It's an ad for the Game Boy, and the ad is a woman like handcuffed to a bed, and the dude playing the Game Boy because it's like, oh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do now that I'm handcuffed? And he's like, I'm just gonna play Game Boy. It's like it was bonkers. It was
Wow.
bonkers, man.
They were doing whatever and they
Yeah.
did
Oh,
not.
they didn't care, dude.
But that's the thing I picked up on like when like watching this like it's such a different time than like, today, right?
Yeah.
Because in many regards, right? Like of things that they were allowed to do, things that they pushed the envelope on, and like it's titled appropriately, right? This documentary, Console Wars, because like we talk about like if you say that right now, people automatically assume you're talking about like Xbox versus PlayStation, that kind of thing. But Obed, like when I watch this documentary and talk about like the kind of again this animosity that they truly had towards one another,
Yeah.
right? Versus the kind of stuff today where like you know Xbox put something new out, PlayStation, Sony tweets out a nice thing, congratulations on your launch, wish you guys well, they weren't
I,
doing that back
I
then.
don't know. I don't know how it looks on stream.
I see it. I see it.
But you
Yep.
see it?
New Game Boy Pocket. Seriously
Oh, okay,
distracting.
okay.
Yep. And that was a
Yeah.
commercial as well, but that was just a poster or something, right?
Yep, yep, yeah. I think
Yeah.
we're frozen the stream.
I see it. I see it.
Oh
But
man.
no, but no, like it's one of those things like they push the envelope,
Yeah.
and I feel like I feel like they like these old guys like if they were to do an interview about like the stuff they see that's going on right now with console wars, they'd be like these guys are sissies compared to like the stuff they were doing back then, dude. Like, they did not care. They didn't specifically when it got to the government hearing, right? Like, oh my god.
And I knew about that because that was like a known story, like, and I heard about, I've read about it on like EGM or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I haven't looked at it yet, but I have an intention of trying to see if the full thing is like on YouTube somewhere. I'm hoping it is. I haven't looked.
I think it's on.
But I want
Yeah,
to
because
see
it was on C-SPAN, so I think it's on
Okay.
YouTube. Yeah,
That's all I'm hoping is I gotta look at it at some point when I have some free time.
they showed
But
Night Trap, and I remember
dude,
because they showed Night Trap on Sega CD, and it's like, this is reprehensible, and how can children be playing this game? And Howard Lincoln was like, I can guarantee that that game will never be on a Nintendo console. And
right?
and then it can, which is very ironic because there's an anniversary edition of Night Trap that
Yeah.
came out on Switch. So,
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Years later.
yeah, so many years, like 30 years later, dude. It's like almost 25 years later. You get,
Gosh.
yeah, bro.
Like
It was
that's the kind of
bonkers.
history. Like that's the kind of like gaming history where like and the people who are like family members or relatives that are still playing games right now can look back on like their great granddaddy who was a senator or whatever
Yeah.
and made these statements about how like it's gonna end the society if kids keep playing this stuff. Like
Yeah, man, Joe
the side of
Lieberman.
history,
Yeah, he's still
you know?
around, not being a good senator.
Oh my god, the lizard people. It's one of those situations where you just laugh because you're like leave it to America, dude. Listen, I'm patriotic. I'm happy, to be in this country. I'm not trying to say, how I feel about it, right?
Yeah.
But like, leave it to America. Something innovative comes along, and we'll be the first people to be like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
you know what's really ironic, right? Is because back then, we would talk about the Japanese versions of the games. It's like, oh my god, the Japanese version of the game, and instead of doing this, like his head blows off, or like Snatcher on Sega CD, like the Hideo Kojima game is very graphic. It's like, and it got edited for the US version.
Yeah.
But then something interesting happened, right? Because the ESRB was established, and then the rating system came out, right?
Right.
But
And
then
that makes sense. That's the answer to the whole thing, right? Like,
Exactly.
you put out a rating thing, and then
Yeah.
everybody's good.
yeah. But the irony of it all is that when the Japanese rating system came out, I think in like 1999, it was a lot stricter than the ESRB, and Japanese games started like being censored, and then the US versions were just like going crazy, right? Well, what's interesting is that back then you had like the PC games that were very graphic, and when had like nudity and all this stuff like Phantasmagoria, and there were PC CD-ROM games, and they were not talking about Phantasmagoria. They were
No,
talking
they were
about
talking
Mortal
about the shooting
Kombat.
games.
Yeah.
Or the blowing up the heads. And
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But it was a very interesting time. You could see like the whole peak. So when Sega got peak, when I went to Disney, and what used to be Innovations at
At
Epcot was an entire Sega pavilion, dude. It was heaven. You would go in, and I was like, are you serious? It's like, I am the happiest kid right now. And when you had like lines and lines of games, and like, oh, these are new games that are coming out, and all this stuff, and oh man, it was fantastic. It was awesome. And that building is not even there anymore, because
No.
that's the building that got torn down at Epcot for the Moana attraction, the
Yeah.
building. So man, it was like, that's how you know that Sega made it, right? It was like they're at friggin' Disney World, which is, again, Disney. It's cheap date. You're gonna open that play pavilion, you're gonna need some characters, right?
Yeah, I mean, and Sonic's getting movies, like, and
Movies
they're
are doing really good. Yeah,
People love
yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff again.
Yeah, man.
Not a bad time to strike a deal.
Nope, not at all. Nintendo, it's coming.
Right.
Hey, you know
Bring
what?
back the
Bring back the
wars.
wars. But it was a very interesting time. And then, you would talk about the competitors like the TurboGrafx, and it was like it just faded into obscurity, and like no one really talked about it in PR. I know that here it had a little bit more of a following. It was more of a cult following, but it had more. And then you would get like the big stuff, right? When the 3DO came out, 3DO was popular over there again because it was Panasonic, and it was at furniture stores, so you can get it everywhere. But then you had like the Neo Geo, and the Neo Geo was a big deal, right? I never knew anyone that had one, right? You know, to me that's like the dream console right now. Like if I would pick one console to have out of first it would be having a Saturn back, right? But the Neo Geo would be like the next step. It's like having a Neo Geo would be like a dream scenario when it comes to like owning a console. But they're really expensive. The games are still really expensive. And back then, the console was $600. Games were like anywhere from like 150 to 250. It was crazy. So, you know, it was all ROM chips. It wasn't CD, and the Neo Geo CD was the thing, but I don't think it ever came out in the U.S. And you can still buy that, like the Neo Geo CD. You can buy like the Japanese version pretty cheap on eBay, and the games are cheap. But yeah, man, it was such a different time. The marketing was a lot different because right now you would get a PlayStation commercial during football, right?
And now attached to movie trailers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. And that would be, and that's basically it. But back then, when you had print, and you see all this crazy like ads, and even the PlayStation ads, and then when PlayStation did that marketing campaign with Crash Bandicoot going into like the Nintendo headquarters, it's like, hey guys, I'm calling you guys out, and that was brilliant. It's funny because to some extent, like PlayStation became what Sega was at that time.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, because when they start talking about even Sega and Sony were talking initially about working together, and it was the Sega Japan that just said, "No, we're not going to let that happen," and then Sony obviously went on into history there. Like, yeah. They kind of were on the same vein of one another, which makes more sense to me. Why it was a more natural transition for you to go from Sega to Sony.
One thing that blew my mind is that the N64 was going to be a Sega console, and Japan said no. I didn't know that. Like that that was a big one from the documentary that I didn't know. Because yeah, man, it was crazy, and then they didn't have the hardware ready, and they just the Saturn was so sloppy, dude. Oh man, it stinks.
Yeah, like the fact that it seemed like at that point they knew it was over, like the way they all were talking about it in hindsight. And I think like I feel bad for Tom Kalinske. He came in and really brought Sega to he brought them in the game, literally. He brought them to another place as a company, and really was winning in America, and had a chance at taking down the mighty Nintendo at that time. But
94% of the market that they had. Yeah.
And he came from marketing Barbie dolls doing it. I was like, what?
But he was good though. Like
he understood consumers.
Exactly.
Like he understood what the people wanted, so he gave them what they wanted, and took a lot of risk. And it shows you, it makes me think of how Jim Ryan now, being with Sony, he's a marketing kind of guy, right?
Reminds me of Michael Eisner.
Eisner, Disney, yeah. These people who are able to really just take risks and put their brand out there.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's Sega story is very interesting. It was very nostalgic.
That ending hit me, dude. That ending hit me.
Yeah, it's very nostalgic, and it hit you imagine how it hit me that when I was
Living
like
it.
I was living it, and man, it was really good. This documentary, highly, highly, highly
Yeah.
recommended. Along with the what was it, Insert Coin, right,
Yeah.
from Netflix,
Yeah.
which is also excellent.
High score.
High Score, High Score.
Yep.
High Score is also excellent.
High score is fantastic.
Which they talk about a little bit of the console wars, but this
They
is like
do.
more in depth.
This thing covers it all.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering if that movie's ever going to happen with that Joe Rogan's not Joe Rogan. I'm sorry. Not Joe Rogan. The other Joe.
Angry Joe.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Angry Joe. Seth Rogen. See.
Oh yeah, that's
No, different Rogan.
Rogan.
A different Rogan.
So crazy.
Yeah. The funny Rogan. Oh man. Okay. All right. Spotify. All right. We here.
We're on Spot. We are on Spotify.
We're on
That's why I'm
Spotify,
with the
yeah.
plug. No
So-
time is on there.
So, because he was producing like an actual movie of it, like what was going inside the offices at both places, and yeah. So I'm wondering if that's ever gonna happen, because that's
Wow.
like I really want to see that.
Did you see just random? Did you see the whole like Dwayne Johnson saying he's making another video game movie, but not saying what franchise?
It's probably
it is?
Fortnite.
You think so?
Yeah,
People were like hoping it was God of War, but I
It's
doubt
not
that
God of War.
Sony's doing that.
it's not gonna work. Dude.
He would be a great Kratos, though. Boy.
So the thing is that I have a hard time taking Dwayne Johnson seriously. Because to me, he will always be The Rock, right? From WWF.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's
You don't
what
want
it
you don't
is.
want to see God of War as a comedy.
no, because he would be like, boy, and I would like laugh. I'm like, it's like- yeah. Well, no, very good conversation, Joel.
Yeah.
I
This will continue. Like
It
I'm
will
gonna be
continue,
thinking of
yeah.
random stuff.
yeah.
Because this is a very profound moment in gaming history that I've always been aware of, but did not comprehend it to the level after this documentary. And like honestly, like Obed, like outside of the podcast, like we need to like have lunch and just talk more, dude. Like, because it's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. We should take that our gear and just do a podcast like somewhere,
Super.
like
raw.
at a restaurant.
People are like talking in the background. The audio quality's terrible.
Yeah. Like was it Freakonomics?
Oh,
Freakonomics
yeah.
do that. They do that every once in a while. So yeah, we should do that. No, I'm very, very passionate about this topic. I if you guys have any questions, I can talk about this crap for hours, but my throat hurts and we got stuff to talk about.
We got Boba Fett to talk about, man.
All right. A very good
Or
episode.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, or the Mandalorian. Very good episode, man. Very good episode. Bryce Dallas Howard, like I told you since Mando season 1, dude, that she was good, and she understands, and she does, man, because she brings all this like the nuance of fan service.
But
She
not in a
understands.
cheesy way.
She understands it very well,
Yeah.
and she does it. Yeah, exactly, and she doesn't do it in a very like on the nose cheesy way. Very good episode. Is that BD1 or is that another BD unit?
So I was asking myself the same, because the first moment I saw it pop on screen, I'm like, BD1. Even when you find out more about BD1 in the game, it sounds to me like it's a very rare type of droid.
Yep.
So it would not shock me, and I would like for it to be the same BD1, because we've talked before about wanting to see Cal Kestis on the show.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's very cool. So, you want to talk about the intro stuff with the Darksaber and the whole Mando thing? Just
Yeah.
take it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, seeing at the very introductory, right, scene where he's basically collecting that bounty in this, butcher's meat shop and hilarious sequence, that doesn't look like me at all. Yeah, it's like it's got the face floating on the hologram, right? It's great, right? But it's amazing because the show starts off right away with Mando showing up, and they didn't waste it. I mean, obviously we knew he was going to be in the episode from the tease at the end of the last episode, but um, this episode has basically like no Boba Fett in it. It's just Mando. So from the get go, we pick up from where he left off in season 2, where he doesn't have the child anymore. Like he only now has the dark saber, and he's just trying to make a living. So doing this bounty, bringing this guy in, he wields the saber. He says, "I could bring you in cold." I'm like, oh, they're not gonna show this. Nope, yes they do. He comes in here and he is slicing people like crazy.
Yeah.
However, he don't know how to wield that thing properly. In fact, he hurts himself. And I like that they did that, because that's been a complaint before with Star Wars, right? We don't want it to seem like you're just the Mary Sue that can pick up any kind of weapon of that kind, and you're just magically, gifted, right? and like he's not a Jedi, like, but the Force is still involved here, right? And that's what I appreciate. So,
Yep.
Taking the time to say that he has to get training, and the people I watched it with, that's one of the first things they said. They were like, "Oh, he needs training." I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. Like this is the way, right? This is how it's supposed to be." So, yeah, like that opening sequence was an amazing action sequence, but it makes sense even more than just having cool action and oh, he's wielding the saber. Is it also makes sense like how he's using it? But yeah, it gets heavier. Literally gets heavier as time goes on.
Yeah. All right. So, armor for Grogu. So they're giving a reason why he's going to survive the Kylo Ren attack on the temple. Like they're giving him literal plot armor.
Is it armor though? It look like rings. It look like these little ring things.
I think it's like a chainmail.
Like a chain. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Probably.
Yeah.
Put him like a literal like medieval knight. He's a Jedi knight, like wearing.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, because he can just wear it under the robes, as like to protect himself. So.
Then there's probably gonna be a scene where it's gonna be like the super dramatic scene where it looks like he gets stabbed, and it was like.
Yeah, like Frodo. Like Frodo.
You're like Frodo.
It's
exactly.
Mithril, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm good, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll probably see that. So, are we gonna see Luke?
Have to.
Is Luke gonna train him with the saber?
No, but here's the thing, though. I don't think we're gonna see Luke in Book of Boba Fett. I think we'll see him in Mando season 3.
Okay.
I don't like. He says, "I'm gonna go get."
I'll be right back.
I'm gonna be right back. I get my little friend. But are you confident that's Grogu he's referring to? I mean, we assume little,
no,
right?
it's yeah. No, he said he was Grogu. I mean, well,
he didn't say the name. It could have been Bo-Katan for all we know.
Nah, he's Grogu.
I mean, it would make more sense. I agree.
Yeah.
It would make more sense if it's this guy. But I'm just saying, like, there's also a chance, like, I don't want to get too excited and Grogu's not in this next episode.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. So for when the chip, when what's her name? Polly, the lady from the hangar, forgot her name.
Fortunately,
Polly something, Ripley.
Gosh.
I don't know.
I'll
Yeah,
fact check it now.
So when she takes Din to see the ship, I thought it was Grievous' ship, because it's probably the ship that Obi-Wan took to Tatooine. It's like, but I mean I'm sold with the N1, Nubian and Nubian. So I'm good with that, right? Because it's a cool ship and the way they fix it and all that is pretty cool, right? But if it would have been Grievous' ship and she would have been, I was like, oh yeah, this old dude Ben Kenobi that used to live in the outskirts brought this thing one time and just left it here, so you might as well take it. And it's Grievous' ship. That would have been crazy, dude. It's too much of a coincidence, and that's probably why they didn't do it. They probably thought about it, but I think the Naboo Starfighter it's a good choice, and to bring
And it
back.
makes it more cool when you get to the other sequence where it's the callback to the pod race.
Correct, yeah, because they go back and they do the whole like going backwards on the, you know, pod racing track. It was awesome, and it was like the best part of episode one. And you see the ramps and everything, and it's like, oh man, it's so cool, so good, man. Um, yeah, it was really good. It was really good. I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm wondering where they're going next week. We got 2 episodes left, and um, you know, we're still gonna get a few more surprises based on what I heard. So
Yeah, no, I still think that we're going to get Han Solo. I still think that like we talked before, like Dengar and like all those, like I could still see like those guys showing up. I'm not 100% sold on it, but I there is an expectation. I would if I had to say over under 50, I'd say over 50% chance that they're in this. Um, and that's a bold statement, but you know that's how I feel. We'll see. Um, I do think though that this is the kind of thing like you said, like this could be considered episode 1 of season 3. Like this is going to be the kind of episode that people are going to have to go back and watch before they see clearly season 3 of the Mandalorian. Like I know people who were not too crazy about Boba Fett, and they were like, I don't know if I'll watch and I'll just wait for Mandalorian. And I'm like, no, like you have to see this
connects.
stuff because it connects, and I appreciate that. It's like it's that's how these things are supposed to be respectful of one another. Now, obviously, this episode was what I would refer to as a very sweaty episode, not because it gets you excited, but because the stuff that gets you excited is like deeper lore, right? So, like when you start talking about like Paz Vizsla, like the confirmation of like this dude being a part of the Vizsla lineage.
Yeah.
Like the moment he says that, I was like, oh snap! Like he's gonna want to have that saber because that's what his people fought for so long, and to see this unorthodox, Mando like wielding it is of course going to be considered offensive to him. So totally get it. Jon Favreau did the voice, by the way. He did come back and do the voice of Paz Vizsla for the episode. Okay, cool. So I love that, right? Because obviously he also did the voice, in the Clone Wars of the original, right, Commander, right? So I'm hopeful that the rest of the episodes don't feel like a drawback after this. And when I say that from like a quality standpoint, because this episode was so strong, you gotta just keep the pace ramping up now. Like you can't like have this be an amazing episode and the next one's just kind of like, people sitting at a table discussing, their plans of how they're gonna fight. Like they need to actually show some significant movement happen. So yeah, man, I mean, there's a lot to be said. The destruction of Mandalore was a huge moment to see Mandalore on the big screen.
It's we like knew Terminator. It would come
at some point. Yeah, it looked great, dude.
Yeah.
It's terrible to see destruction, but it just the visuals of it was fantastic.
Yeah. That looked pretty intense. Yeah. Overall very good. I saw some people saying it was like, this was the worst episode of the show. And I don't know what you're drinking, but it's pretty good stuff. This last few episodes, the last 2, to be more specific, the last 3, I think, have been very good. So,
Bryce Dallas Howard, like we mentioned at the beginning, like she deserves a series.
Oh,
like
yeah.
seriously,
or a movie.
Or a movie. I mean,
she's
she's a busy woman, like clearly very talented, so it makes sense why she's busy. But they like with all the stuff that's gone on with Star Wars Obed, where like fans don't trust a lot of filmmakers. They don't want JJ no more. They want Ryan. They want none of these other people. Like the fact that fans seem to like for the most part what she has done, and she just keeps nailing it one after the other. Like every time she's stepping into Star Wars, they got it. Like, dude, there's been too much controversy at Disney. Like they gotta like take this one as an easy step in the right direction to make it happen.
Gotta take this W and run with it. I think the big thing, it's probably gonna be if what you said is if what you predict it comes to pass, which is basically all this series combining into one big movie, right?
Yeah.
I think she would be the one.
Yeah, I think so too.
To do it. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Can't wait for next week. I guess we'll just round up all the Star Wars topics for the week here.
Might as well.
Respawn announced that they're working not only on a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, we've known, but they're also working on an FPS and a strategy game, sort of like an XCOM type of game. When I first saw it, you sent me the message when the announcement first came out, and I was like, bro, it's like Titanfall style FPS from Star Wars. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. Do you think the sequel to Fallen Order is going to come out this year?
No.
No?
I wish it would though.
When
I wish
Fallen,
it
Fallen
would,
Order
but-
was 2019, right?
Yeah. If they've been working on it all this time, they can, but I don't know. It sounds to me
Okay.
like this is just going to be announced and then next year, early next year.
Gotcha. All right. Speaking of games, I don't want to digress, but do you see that the Harry Potter thing, the game is getting delayed until next year again?
Look,
It's been delayed for 2 years.
I am not a big Potterhead, so I'm not trying to be offensive to people who are fans. But yeah, I feel like that was kind of announced just purely based off of like, hey, we love we love Harry Potter, but
I don't think that was ready
I don't think it was ready
to get
yet.
announced. Yeah, I agree.
They just didn't want to tease something.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But this Respawn stuff is
Three
all very
games,
interesting.
though.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously the Jedi Fallen Order, that's easy, right? But then like a
Yeah.
strategy and then a first-person shooter, like obviously. I mean, you saw the information about EA not working on another Battlefront.
Could
So
they
it's
be
Battlefront.
making? Could they? Well, I mean, that's probably
Would it be like another version, but not the same? Like
that's what I was gonna
game?
say. Yeah, maybe it's like a different iteration of Battlefront. Yeah.
Battlefront's been a legacy title, but I mean, it could be the start of something new at this point, but still in the same vein to give something to people like us
Yeah.
who appreciate those games. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, it could be. Yeah. Though it's gonna be interesting. I'm really excited for that one actually. But yeah, I really want to see the sequel to Fallen Order. It's been 3
I want to
years.
play Fallen. I want to play Fallen Order on PS5 since they remastered.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Oh man, I should go back and play it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you, but I found a cheap copy of the Devil May Cry 5 on PS5, and
Nice.
it looks better. Like it looks
Okay.
better than the PS4 is. Like it looks like the ray tracing because it has ray tracing, so it looks significantly better. So yeah, I've been playing that since I finished Guardians, which I didn't talk about, but that was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to play that.
Definitely need to play that.
Yep. But yeah, man. See, the thing is that Horizon comes out in a couple of weeks. I don't want to get another game in the way because I want to go with like
That
full on
looks so
Horizon.
good.
Yeah,
Aw.
I just want to go full in Horizon when it comes out. So that's already on pre-order. So I'm just waiting for it to come out. I'm still on the fence on pre-ordering Elden Ring.
Okay.
I might just wait it out because we still have God of War coming out, and there's plenty of stuff. Like PS Plus this month was good. Next month, I don't know if you saw, it's not good. Again,
No, there's like another like I don't know wrestling or something. I don't know.
it's UFC. It's like
UFC,
it's
okay,
like
yeah.
every other month. Like every other month, you get something good, but then like the following month is just not good. But yeah, I'm excited for Respawn, and I'm excited for other Star Wars projects that are happening. So, yeah, good stuff, man. And unfortunately, the Star Wars project that is not happening is the Star Wars 1313, which was announced a few years before the acquisition, or it was, I think, around that same time when the acquisition happened.
Yeah, 2012 was when. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So it was like it was shown to be like a next gen title back then. So it was gonna be like like a PS4, Xbox One title back then. But new footage came out showing Boba Fett, and some of the stuff that you were supposed to be able to do in this game. So yeah, unfortunate because this game looked really, really good back then. I remember watching the trailer and being really interested in it. But
So was
yeah,
it Disney that killed it? Like, who killed the game?
it was Disney because Disney killed LucasArts.
Man,
Yeah,
that's so wild.
yeah, because when they closed LucasArts, they went and killed this project. So yeah, man.
Wow. 'Cause that was my biggest thing. Like, I didn't remember who ended it. I was looking at. I'm like, of course, Boba Fett footage is the thing that comes out right now, right?
Yep.
Because it's the hot name. But it didn't look bad. Like, it looked like actually good. There's times where you get leaks after the fact, and you're like, eh. Like the Prince of Persia game, whatever that got leaked. Like that didn't get that didn't get my
Oh yeah,
attention. That didn't look great. This look good.
yeah, they
But
look
it's
very good.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. So I mean, it still hurts. They really went crazy, like killing all the projects. I think Disney had a very sour time with having their own like game studio, and they were better off just licensing. So it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but yeah, you know. Oh, I got an update on the bags. They are. It's due to supply.
Yeah.
'Cause supply chain. It's not.
Well, I went
Yeah.
to Disney last week for a brief bit, and I saw people with the bags. So
Yeah.
I didn't know if those people brought their own or that they just actually did have them back in stock
So
again.
there's a store. There's a store that you can buy it separate.
Hmm.
There's one of the shops that you can buy the bag separate. I'm not sure if they're doing it again
Right.
at the workshop. But it was due to supply chain. It wasn't because they got discontinued or
Yeah.
budget cuts or whatnot. So
Yeah.
yep,
Bizarre times.
yep,
Well, at least you're not. At least you don't have to worry about being put in the back of a truck.
yeah, exactly. Bags still included, kinda. Um, Jill, the last thing we had an updated, or I guess final trailer for the Uncharted movie. It looked very good. Looks fun. Looks like a good time. So we'll see.
Yeah, I actually kind of took my anticipation down another notch for this one, and it's not because it looks bad, like you said, it does look like a good movie. It just looks like just that though, like just a good movie. It doesn't necessarily look like a great one. Um, I I know, like I've said it before, that this movie looks like it's more in the spirit of Uncharted than it actually being Uncharted. And I know it can't be a direct adaptation, so I understand that. Like they're doing something different, and I think they're still trying to be respectful, which is why I say that it's still in the spirit of Uncharted, right? There's
Yeah.
clearly moments that are being replicated from games. But like Mark Wahlberg as Sully, it's not that I have nothing against Wahlberg.
He's fine.
He's
He's like The
fine.
Rock. He's like the same character in every movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he almost seems also to kind of take over a bit, like from the trailer, right? Like
Well, he was supposed to
Nathan
be
Drake,
Nathan Drake at the beginning when this whole
right,
rumor started. Yeah.
right, and that would make more sense because like they make they make it seem, at least, obviously Tom Holland is trying to bring this character to life, but makes it seem like Tom Holland's Nathan Drake is a little more reserved. It's like, hey, like we're gonna split it 50-50, right? And I'm like, if you play Uncharted 3, like when you get teenager Nathan Drake, he's literally fighting like Sully, like straight up, because he's been through stuff, so he doesn't trust anybody. Like that's why Sully and Drake get along, like because like they both have a common type of personality to some extent. They're different, they're their own person, but like they see things from a similar lens, and that's why Sully even extends to him the offer of joining him on voyages, because he's like, I see in you like who I am as well a little bit. Like we understand one another. Where it seemed a little bit in this one, it was almost like the adults kind of with the young adults kind of just tagging along for a buddy time. And I don't know, that dynamic to me was the one thing that kind of stuck out as more of the actors than the actual characters. But like again, I think that these are talented people. It's going to be a good entertaining time. But
Yeah.
that's like where stuff starts to stick out to me in this trailer for sure. But it's Sony. Like I've joked about it many times with other people. You know, it could be a lackluster story, could be okay, but it will always look good and sound good. So I'm sure that it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. Do you see the PS5 Uncharted stuff? It's like
Yes, they're
120
talking
hertz,
about it.
and
Yeah,
yeah, it looks really good. I know. That's one game that I didn't play last gen. That I
understandable.
may just grab it like later this
Yeah.
year. Like it's not on my like immediate to do, but you know, for the holidays, I don't know. Got a couple of
If
bucks
you
here and
ever get
there.
time, you never know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm still like that, and The Last of Us 2. I still want to play, so
Yeah.
I think I gotta make time and find a little bit of time
Your
to get
Naughty
those
Dog
going.
catch up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we got for today. It was good talking about the console wars.
Yeah,
It's
that was great.
always a fun topic for me, and I can talk about it for hours. You know, it's like if you let me talk about it, I'll just keep going. It's like I have to stop myself.
I know the whole episode could have easily been just we just so happened we had talk about an incredible Boba Fett episode and some
Yeah,
other information, but no, I think this will be a topic that will come up over time as we always review over the history of what was and what is
yeah,
with gaming.
yeah. We'll see how this one comes out because now it's much different because of deep pockets, which is very unfair.
Well, you said that Nintendo passed PlayStation 1, right? And
Yeah,
Switch
The
passed it.
Switch passed the PS1 on sales. Yeah, yeah.
It's
Switch is
huge.
doing very, very good. So,
It's huge.
yeah, is there? It is indeed huge, sir. That's what we got. Let's go ahead and plug us in, sir.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you so much for your time today, listening or watching our show. We invite you to stay subscribed. If you're listening to us on audio format or you want to subscribe to our audio format, please look for us on podcast platforms of your choice: Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud. We are there. Subscribe today. Also, you can subscribe to the video version on the No Load Time YouTube channel. No Load Time on YouTube. Subscribe, like the videos, comment on them, share it with your friends and family, these episodes. We'd really appreciate that. We also invite you to follow us on social media, stay updated, stay connected. So you can follow us at No Load Time. It's at No Load Time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And then you can also watch us on Twitch, No Load Time altogether on Twitch. That's our account. You can follow us there. We do stream our recordings usually on Thursday evenings, but you'll get that sweet notification when we go live every time. And of course, last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, we may even be able to discuss it here on our show. Send an email to noloadtime@gmail.com. That's noloadtime@gmail.com. Oh, but it's a pleasure as always to be with you. I look forward to talking with you on our next episode.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe. We'll see you again next time.